Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I do my seamless sew to where you can barely tell that I've got two separate pieces here. So basically what I first do always is I go ahead and I securely pin the mobile part to the head or whatever, just pin it that way it doesn't move. What sucks is that if it does move and it comes out crooked, you're gonna have to redo it, cut it, reposition it. You could make a whole mess. So it's always best to pin your stuff on here. So basically what I'm gonna do is when I go ahead and I sew, I wanna make sure that I am going through a good piece of stiff yarn and also go through the entire stitch, which is both loops. And the reason why is because if you just go through a flimsy piece of yarn here, you'll wind up stretching it out and end up with these ugly ass holes. So basically what you want to do is you're going to start by working down, then up, like a mattress stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and then also you don't want to start stretching it and sewing out here. You want to go directly underneath it. So what you can do is you can move it a little bit, and I'm going to grab down here a pretty stiff piece of stitches or yarn, whatever. And then I'm going to go through these two right here, and I'm going to pull up. Now when I'm pulling up, I want to make sure I get tension because pretty much what you're doing is you're sewing it like a drawstring. So it gets nicely tucked underneath. And then also you'll notice is that I haven't even stuffed the piece yet. I always leave the stuffing of the piece towards the end where I can just have a little hole, a little entryway good enough to fit the stuffing and then close it. Because if you stuff it prior to having a little hole, it's going to go all over the place. You're going to end up snagging the stuffing. It's going to look raggedy because you got stuffing coming all out of your dolls. So it's best to just keep going with it. And then you're going to just stuff at the very end. And you're going to leave an opening of about maybe 4 stitches or so. So when I get there, I'm going to show you, where is a good place to start stuffing. Snagging stuffing can be particularly annoying. So also very important, make sure that you do not skip stitches. So you are not going to skip stitches. You're going to make sure that you are grabbing bottom and top, that there is no stitch left behind, because it'll wind up looking wonky, it'll wind up looking ghetto, and you don't want that. So as you can see right here, it's really nice, and you can barely see, the join. And the reason being is because I'm putting it through a pretty stiff piece of yarn, and I'm also not stretching it to where I'm like out here. I'm keeping it close and centered to where the stitches are actually touching. That way you get a clean line. It's not stretched out. And yeah, I do slightly stuff the head before sewing on the piece because I want to get that shape. All right, so as you can see, it's coming out really nice. Okay, you just got to mold it with your hand. And it's not stuffed, but it looks like it is, but it's not. And you just continue to, grab, that's too flimsy. See, so you got to go in a little deeper, or at least grab one more piece, because if I would have grabbed that flimsy piece, it would have stretched out and made a hole, and holes are tacky. You're not supposed to have holes in this. It's not for holes. So what you also could do is move it around a little bit. Make sure you're nice and secure. Always peek up and look at your work. Look at what you're doing, because if you keep going around and you don't pause to just hold it out in front of you and look at it, you might sew it on crooked. And the worst thing that you have to do is a repair when you really ain't need to do a repair. All you had to do is just pay attention and look. So you can avoid wasted yarn, wasted time by just peeking up every so often to ensure that you're not doing nothing crooked. Okay, so then when you get up here to like the forehead area, you make sure you keep a straight line. All right. And make sure you're going clean through the stitches. Don't leave any hanging pieces. See, as you can see, it's looking great. Wonderfully, nothing is crooked, and that's because, I mean, the more pins, the merrier. You know, definitely want to pin it as much as you can. It doesn't hurt to use some extra dress pins. Also, you just move them to the side if they start getting in the way. But yeah, we're almost done here. We're coming around, which is pretty cool. And I hope you guys are able to see this video, because believe it or not, I have it in my shirt. So let's hope that when I review this video that y'all can actually see what I'm doing. So, and then if not, it's not like I'm not going to make any more toys. I'll be able to make another one, but I really just wanted to show you guys how I make my invisible seams to where you can't even tell. Feel me? Like you can't even, it just looks great. So just keep going, you know, make sure don't stretch. Grab a good sturdy piece of yarn underneath. Pull as tight as you can. Your tension game got to be good with this part too, because when you're sewing these pieces on, you want to make sure that you pull like that. Pull real good, because that's how you get the invisibility of it, is by pulling it. You know, now I'm looking over here, you know, making some adjustments, looking at it real good. Make sure it doesn't come out crooked, because we don't want crooked. We're not going to do crooked. Can't do that. That's ghetto. So I'm going to keep going with it. You know, and it's okay to bend your needles. Yes, all my needles are bent. It's the best thing ever. You know, when you're doing these little whip stitches and things like that, working with a straight needle is a pain in the ass. When it's curved like that, you can easily, you know, boom, grab and go with the stitches. So now that I have, you know, now you can see there's a slight hole. So I'm going to just do one more. And now I'm going to pause and I'm going to start to stuff. So, you know, when you stuff, you know, definitely don't want to manhandle it, because you can overstretch the hole. You could do a bunch of crazy stuff. So be gentle, but you want the nose to be, I mean, it's up to you. If you want it firm, you can have the nose firm. If you want it a little bit softer, you don't have to stuff it all the way. I mean, I think it's almost straight, just a little bit more. Make sure you stuff it near the opening too, because you don't want the opening to be all flat. So once you have it stuffed, you know, look at it again. Make sure you reposition your pin so that nothing gets crooked, and tuck everything in. Keep that tension, and you're just gonna, make sure you don't skip any stitches. If you skip a stitch, go back because it will look ugly. All right, so I did that one. Also make sure that you don't, double up on a stitch, because, it won't be terribly noticeable, but you kind of just want to do one whip stitch per stitch. You don't want to double ravel anything like that, because it takes away from the neatness of it. So almost done here. I'm still stuffing. Get all the stuffing out the way, because again, you don't want to snag it. It starts coming out all over the place. It looks tacky. It looks like you don't know what you're doing. All right, so almost done. I'm coming over to, this is like the very last stitch. So I'm going to also show you how I bind off. So once I figure out, all right, I'm going to do this. Do this. Okay. So once I come to here, it's on really good. You can see that it looks great. It's seamless. It's perfect. So from here, this is what you do. You have to go through, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna weave in. So I don't do knots, because knots can come undone. Knots can also be seen. They can get bulky. It's just not necessary. So I do something called a weave. So I basically take the yarn and I weave it through. And it's always good to like go in opposite direction as well. Like a snake back and forth, because that way it's secure. You could wash this bad boy and everything and nothing will come out, as long as you weave it in properly. And make sure you're not weaving the yarn so that it's showing on the outside. Like, you want to make sure that your stitches are still visible and that you're only weaving through like the bottom layer of the stitches. Like, you're not like, see, you can't even see it, and it's coming out through here. And then we're going to go back down again, because never be too safe. All right. Pop it out. Boom. All the way. Snip it. Perfect. See? Can't even tell. Can't even tell. And there we have it.